Welcome to episode 4 of Nintendo Kill Count, the show where we count how many enemies we kill in our playthrough of a game available on a Nintendo console. At this point in the series, we've played 2 platformers and an on-rails shooter. In this episode, we'll branch out to a new game genre. Today we play as Billy in Double Dragon. Double Dragon is a beat-em-up initially developed as an arcade game, but later ported to a number of systems, including the NES. My history with beat-em-ups is practically non-existent. I've tried a few, gotten about 2 minutes through the first level, and then quit. Beat-em-ups just aren't my thing, and the closest thing to a beat-em-up I play is the casual fighting game Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. A few things to know in advance. First, I am terrible at this game, like really bad. Per usual, I played the Nintendo Switch Online version of the game, and while in the past I've used the rewind functionality liberally, I tried not to abuse its power. That does not hold true for this playthrough, as I abused the crap out of the rewind feature. Secondly, if you're like me and have never played the NES version of Double Dragon before, you may be surprised to learn that it only has 4 multi-part levels. I mention that both to provide a framework for why the kill count may be lower than expected, and to give you a hint if you'd like to leave a comment right now before watching the video, with your guess of what the final kill count will be. As always, there will be spoilers for both the game and the final kill count of previous episodes, so go give them a watch before starting this one. So with all that background info out of the way, please relax and pour yourself a glass of chocolate milk as we discover how many enemies we kill as Billy in Double Dragon. Mission 1 opens with your girlfriend literally getting punched in the stomach and dragged off by the bad guys. Pretty brutal sequence to start with, and I guess it's my job to get her back now? Really, the story here is non-existent and the gameplay takes center stage. In each level, you kick and punch your way across the environment, comboing enemies while trying to avoid being hit, with the occasional platforming section thrown in. Starting Mission 1, it didn't take me long to learn one button was for punch, one was for kick, and pressing them both at the same time did some crazy jumping kick. One humorous thing I noticed myself doing bled over from my time playing Super Smash Bros. Instead of running out of the way of enemy attacks, I instead tried rolling or spot dodging, which are evasive moves from the Smash series of games. Obviously, they had no effect in Double Dragon, and I got absolutely wrecked anytime I tried them, but it was pretty funny how instinct took over when I saw myself about to be hit. Not gonna lie, I pretty much spammed kicks the first mission and made it through without much issue. Mission 2 was similar to the first, but I did pick up on a few things that I hadn't noticed before. One was how you actually can't advance until all the on-screen enemies have been defeated. From what I remember of other beat-em-ups, you could keep moving towards the level's exit, and enemies would just keep spawning until you made it to the end. Here though, your progress is halted until you've defeated X number of enemies. I also figured out how to pick up enemy weapons, and utilizing the dropped baseball bats in particular was enjoyable and an extremely effective way to neutralize the various threats I encountered. Mission 3 is where the difficulty really started to spike. The most obvious reason for this is that Mission 3 is much longer. With more enemies to take down, it makes sense that it's harder to survive until the end. The second reason though is a game design choice that I absolutely hated. After fighting through most of the first environment, 2 giant enemies busted out of a cliff and started attacking me. Utilizing zero skill and abusing the rewind system, I bested both of them and naturally did what I always did, continuing to walk right to progress to the next area of the level. Here though, the game takes a sinister twist, and I fell for it hook, line, and sinker. Instead of walking right, like you've done the entire game leading up to this point, you instead are supposed to walk into the holes that the enemies created when they busted out of the cliffs. So what happens if you instead do what I did and continue right? The frickin' level loops back to the beginning with all the enemies respawning. It took me about 30 seconds to realize I was replaying the same thing I had just completed. Normally, I wouldn't be that upset about replaying such a short section of a level. After all, I did the same thing in a few sections of Super Mario Bros. And didn't mind it. But the difference here is that, in my opinion, Double Dragon is really hard, and I needed as much health as possible to beat each level. Replaying the first part of the level was pure evil, and I could almost picture the developers bottling and drinking the tears of the poor players like myself who fell for this gimmick. Anyways, I eventually looped back to the hole in the cliffs and made it through the rest of the level. Mission 4 was incredibly challenging. The main part of the level was of a similar difficulty as Mission 3, but then the final section has you facing several of every type of enemy you fought so far, with the exception of Linda, not sure why she was left out. After running this gauntlet, you then fight two bosses back to back, Willie and Jimmy Lee. Willie didn't get the memo and wisely brought a gun to a fist fight. He is fairly challenging, but just like in real life, if you can avoid getting shot, you'll be just fine. Jimmy Lee was hard due to his huge amount of health, and I actually ran out of time on my first attempt. I didn't even realize there was a time limit, and I was so confused when he punched me when I still had half my health bar and I instantly died. I had to rewind a few times to understand that he hadn't done some super powerful move, but instead the timer had simply hit 0. Retrying the mission and utilizing that rewind feature like it was going out of style, I was finally able to beat Double Dragon. If you were homeschooled like me, you may want to avert your gaze for this endgame cutscene. Ugh, way too explicit for my innocent, pure eyes. If it's not already obvious, I did not enjoy my time with this game. The main reason is that beat-em-ups don't appeal to me, which I totally get is a very personal thing. The second reason is that it is incredibly challenging. Once again, it may just be that I am terrible at it, but I struggled to complete missions 3 and 4, and I'm fairly certain I wouldn't have been able to beat them without the rewind function. Another thing I didn't care for was the platforming sections. Both Super Mario Bros. And Donkey Kong Country's platforming felt tight. The platforming in Double Dragon felt like a tacked-on afterthought to add some diversity to the beat-em-up gameplay. Now, on to the good. The music was pretty fantastic. Anyhow, should you play Double Dragon? It all depends on what style of games you enjoy. If you like challenging beat-em-ups, then give it a shot. If you're like me though and don't enjoy that genre, I would give this a hard pass. I ended up more frustrated than anything else and was so relieved when I defeated the last boss. If you're still listening at this point, thanks for giving me the space to vent. Now let's get down to the total kill count. Funnily enough, most of the enemies just have a generic name, which makes it sound like I have a vendetta against these poor people. So across the 4 missions of Double Dragon, I killed 38 Williams, 27 Ropers, 19 Lindas, 9 Abobos, 16 Shintais, 1 Willie, and 1 Jimmy Lee, totaling 111 enemies. How close was the guess you made at the beginning of the episode? As it stands, Billy from Double Dragon currently retains the lowest final kill count from any episode, but it is interesting how close it is to the Super Mario Bros. And the NES Star Fox. Meanwhile, the murderous duo of Donkey and Diddy Kong still retain the top spot. Will anyone ever catch them? Find out next time on Nintendo Kill Count as we investigate the trail of death left by another video game protagonist. And be sure to like and subscribe and comment down below with games you want to see me play in the future.